My husband told me we were bankrupt. 3 months later, I learned it was a lie. A loyalty test his mother designed to see if I was a gold digger. They expected me to leave. Instead, I sold my car and worked 2 jobs to save a marriage that wasn't actually in danger. My husband told me he lost everything. The investments were gone. The accounts drained. His business partner had betrayed him. He sat across from me at our kitchen table with red eyes and shaking hands and said we were bankrupt. I remember the exact sound the word made in my head. Hollow, heavy, bankrupt. We'll lose the house, he said. The cars, maybe even our retirement. I didn't cry. I didn't accuse. I didn't panic. I reached across the table and took his hand. We'll figure it out, I told him. We're a team. That night I lay awake doing math in the dark. Mortgage, insurance, utilities, groceries. I calculated what I could sell and what I could cut. By morning, I had a plan. Within a week, I listed my car. It was paid off and worth enough to cover 3 months of the mortgage. I told him we could share his truck until we stabilized. He hesitated. You don't have to do that. Yes, I said calmly. I do. I picked up extra shifts at the clinic where I worked. When that wasn't enough, I started waitressing on weekends. I left the house before sunrise and came home after midnight some nights. I was exhausted, but proud. Every paycheck went into a new savings account under his name because he said creditors were watching mine. I believed him. I trusted him. He watched me. That's what I understand now. He watched how quickly I sacrificed, how hard I worked, how little I complained. He'd come into the kitchen late at night while I iced my swollen feet. He'd kiss the top of my head and say, I don't deserve you. And I would smile and answer, we'll get through this. 3 months in, I'd saved enough to stop the foreclosure notice he claimed we were about to receive. I remember holding the cashier's check in my hands, feeling relief flood my chest. We did it, I told him. He looked at me strangely, not relieved, not grateful, just quiet. The first crack came from his sister. She showed up one afternoon while he was out. Her face was pale and tight with anger. Did he tell you? She asked. Tell me what? She stared at me like she couldn't believe I didn't know. There is no bankruptcy. The room felt like it tilted. What? She swallowed. This was Mom's idea. She told him to pretend he lost everything. She wanted to see if you'd leave. She said if you stayed, you were loyal. If you left, you were a gold digger. I couldn't speak. He wasn't bankrupt, she continued. He moved the money, all of it, into a separate account. They've been watching you. Watching me, my car, my second job, my swollen feet, my sleepless nights. A test, not of finances, of me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just felt something inside me go very, very still. And for the first time in my marriage, I stopped trying to save us. I didn't confront him immediately. That surprises people when I tell it now. The restraint. But, in that moment, I understood something with perfect clarity. If this was a test, then I was done performing. His sister sat across from me, twisting her hands. I told him it was insane, she said. Mom said any woman worth keeping would stay when things got hard. Things didn't get hard, I replied quietly. He lied. She nodded. The money's untouched, every dollar. They just wanted to see if you'd run. Run! I thought about the car title I had signed away, the waitressing shifts that left my back aching, the humiliation of telling friends we couldn't afford dinner, the nights I skipped meals so we could stretch groceries, all of it unnecessary, all of it observed. Does he know you told me? I asked. No. Good. When he came home that evening, he kissed my cheek like always. Long day? Yes, I said. I studied him carefully for the first time in years. The relaxed shoulders, the calm expression. There was no man crushed under debt, no one drowning in shame, just a man waiting for results. How much did you manage to save this week? He asked casually while opening the fridge. Enough, I answered. That night I didn't touch him. I lay on my side of the bed and stared into the dark. My body was exhausted, but my mind was precise. He had risked our marriage to measure my loyalty. He had allowed his mother to sit in judgment over me, and he had watched me suffer without stopping it. In the morning, I began collecting information. Not evidence to destroy him, evidence to understand him. I checked our tax returns. No missing funds. I reviewed mortgage statements. Fully current. No foreclosure. I logged into our retirement account. Healthy. I opened the joint savings account where I had been depositing my paychecks. The balance was exactly what I had transferred. Untouched. I stared at the number for a long time. 3 months of my life quantified. He hadn't even needed the money. He just wanted proof. That evening, I asked him a single question while we washed dishes. If we lost everything, would you stay with me? He laughed lightly. Of course. Even if it took years to rebuild? Why wouldn't I? I turned off the faucet and faced him. No reason. But I saw it then. The flicker. The hesitation before confidence returned. He had tested me, but he had never asked himself the same question. The stillness inside me deepened. Not anger. Not yet. Clarity. Marriage is not a game of endurance. It is not a laboratory experiment. It is trust. And once you observe someone breaking it deliberately, calmly, with witnesses, you cannot unsee it. That night, I drafted a spreadsheet, not of bills, of options, and for the first time, they did not all include him. I stopped volunteering updates. That was the first change. Before, I would sit across from him and report every shift I picked up, every dollar I saved, every sacrifice made. I thought transparency was partnership. Now, I answered only what he asked. How much did you bring in this week? He said over dinner. Enough, I replied. He frowned slightly. Enough for what? For stability. It irritated him. I could see that. The next morning, I didn't go to the diner. Instead, I met with a financial advisor during what he believed was my shift. I brought copies of every statement. I asked quiet, precise questions. What happens in a divorce if one spouse falsifies financial hardship? The advisor raised an eyebrow. That depends. Why do you ask? No reason, I said calmly. I just like understanding my position. I opened a new account in my name only, not to hide money, to reclaim autonomy. Then I went to the dealership and asked about the car I had sold. It was already gone. I felt a small, sharp ache, not over the vehicle, but over the symbol of it, proof of my loyalty, disposed of. When I got home, my mother-in-law was sitting at the kitchen table. She didn't live with us. She didn't even live nearby. But there she was, smiling like she owned the air in the room. I just wanted to check on you, she said sweetly. These hard times can show a person's true character. I set my purse down, slowly. Yes, I agreed. They can. She studied me carefully, searching for cracks, weakness, bitterness. Instead, she found composure. You've been very dedicated, she continued. Not every woman would stay. I met her eyes directly. Not every man would lie. Her smile tightened. Oh, honey, she said softly. Marriage requires wisdom. Sometimes men need reassurance. Reassurance, I repeated evenly. Or surveillance? Silence filled the room. Her gaze sharpened. For a split second, the mask slipped. I saw calculation there, not concern. "I don't know what you think you know," she said carefully. "I know enough." She stood, smoothing her coat. "Well," she replied lightly, "I'm glad you passed." Passed. The word landed like an insult. After she left, I sat alone at the table where my husband had pretended to break down. I replayed every moment. The trembling hands, the cracked voice, the apology, all rehearsed. When he came home that night, he sensed the shift immediately. "You're different," he said. "Yes." "Different how?" "Done trying to convince anyone I'm worth staying for." He stared at me. "Where is this coming from?" "I learned something," I answered. "What?" "That loyalty given under false circumstances isn't loyalty. It's manipulation." His jaw tightened. "You're overthinking this." "No," I said calmly. "I'm done underthinking it." He didn't argue. He watched, and for the first time since this began, he looked unsure. 2 days later, he broke first. "I don't like this distance," he said, standing in the doorway while I folded laundry. "You're acting like I did something." I looked up at him carefully. "You did." He exhaled sharply. "My sister talked to you." "Yes." He ran a hand through his hair, not ashamed, annoyed. "It was just a test," he said. "Mom thought, I know what your mother thought." He stepped closer. "It wasn't about hurting you." I stood. "You let me sell my car. You offered. You let me work 14-hour days. You said you wanted to help. You let me believe we were losing our home." He hesitated. "We needed to know." "No," I said evenly. "You needed control." The word landed hard between us. His expression changed, defensive now. "You don't understand what it's like," he said. "Men get used for money all the time." "And women get tested for loyalty all the time," I replied. "What makes you different?" Silence. He opened his mouth, then closed it. "You stayed," he said finally. "Doesn't that count for something?" "It counted," I answered, "until I found out it wasn't real." He paced once across the room. "You're blowing this out of proportion." "Am I?" "Yes. It was hypothetical hardship." I stared at him. "I was exhausted," I said quietly. "I skipped meals. I cried in the shower so you wouldn't hear me panic. That wasn't hypothetical." His jaw flexed. "You're acting like I cheated on you." I held his gaze. "You betrayed me." He scoffed. "That's dramatic." "No," I corrected. "It's accurate." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I asked the question he had never thought to ask himself. "If I had left," I said calmly, "what would you have done?" He blinked. "What?" "If I had believed you were bankrupt and decided I couldn't handle it, what would you have done?" He hesitated. "Then I would have known," he said. "Known what?" "That you weren't in this for the right reasons." I nodded slowly. "And if you had told me the truth, that this was a test, and I left because I refused to be tested?" He didn't answer, because there was no version of this where he looked honorable. I stepped past him and walked into the living room. "You risked our marriage," I said, turning to face him fully. "Not because we were struggling, but because your mother whispered doubt in your ear. Don't bring her into this. She orchestrated it. She was protecting me." "From what?" I asked calmly. "A wife who worked 2 jobs?" His voice rose. "You're making me the villain." "No," I said steadily. "You did that yourself." That's when I saw it. Not regret. Fear. Not fear of losing me. Fear of losing control of the narrative. And in that moment, something shifted completely. Because I realized the most important thing. He never once asked if I was hurt, only whether I was leaving, and that told me everything I needed to know. The next morning, he tried to reset the tone. Coffee made, breakfast plated, soft voice. "I didn't sleep," he said, leaning against the counter. "This is getting out of hand." "It already did," I replied. He sighed. "Mom just wanted to make sure you weren't with me for money." I looked at him carefully. "You've been with me for 10 years, I said. "If I were here for money, don't you think I would have shown that by now?" "That's not the point." "No," I agreed. "It's not." I sat down at the table, the same table where he'd performed bankruptcy. "You didn't test whether I loved you," I continued calmly. "You tested whether I would endure suffering you manufactured." He bristled. "That's unfair." "Is it?" He rubbed his temples. "You're acting like this was malicious. It was deliberate." "That's different." "No," I said evenly. "It's worse." He didn't speak, so I continued. "You moved money into a separate account. You let me believe creditors were calling. You let me feel panic. And every night you watched me collapse into bed and said nothing." He looked away. "I thought once you proved yourself, we'd laugh about it," he muttered. I stared at him. "Laugh. You're twisting it." "No, I'm clarifying it." Silence stretched between us again. Then he said something that confirmed everything. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. My dad lost everything because he trusted the wrong woman." "And so you decided to become the wrong man?" I asked quietly. His head snapped up. "That's not what You were afraid of being used," I said. "So you used me first." That hit. I saw it. Not remorse, recognition. He hadn't thought of it that way, but that's exactly what it was. A preemptive strike, a loyalty audit, an experiment. "You could have just talked to me," I said. "You could have said you were scared. You could have asked for reassurance." "I needed proof. And now you have it." "Yes." I held his gaze. "At what cost?" He didn't answer, because this was the part he hadn't calculated. Tests change things. You don't get to stress a bridge and then expect it to carry the same weight. You don't simulate collapse without weakening the structure. "You risked our entire marriage," I said steadily. "Not because we were struggling, not because I failed you, but because your mother doubted me. Stop blaming her. She orchestrated it. She suggested it. And you obeyed." That's when his expression hardened. "I'm not choosing between you and my mother." "You already did," I replied. The words landed heavier than I expected. He stepped back slightly. "I can't believe you're threatening divorce over this." "I haven't threatened anything." "But you're thinking about it." "Yes." There it was. Truth. Unfiltered. His face drained of color. "You would leave," he whispered. I didn't raise my voice. "You created a version of me who would endure anything," I said. "Now you're meeting the real one." And for the first time since this began, he looked afraid of losing me, not testing me, losing me. He followed me into the hallway. "You're not seriously considering ending this," he said, voice lower now, controlled. "I am seriously considering what marriage means," I answered. "That's dramatic." "No," I said calmly. "It's overdue." He ran both hands through his hair again. A tell. He did that when control slipped. "It was one mistake. It was 3 months. It was a strategy. It was deception." He exhaled sharply. "Why are you acting like I don't love you?" I turned to face him fully. "Because love doesn't set traps." Silence. He opened his mouth, then tried another angle. "Okay. he said. Fine. It was wrong. I'll admit that. But it proved something. Yes, I agreed. That you're loyal. No, I corrected. That you're capable of watching me suffer. That landed. His jaw tightened. I didn't make you sell your car. You didn't stop me. I didn't ask you to work 2 jobs. You didn't tell me the truth. He stepped closer. So what now? You punish me forever? I held steady. This isn't punishment. It's consequence. You're blowing up our marriage over pride. No, I said. You risked our marriage over suspicion. His breathing grew heavier. I said I was sorry. You said it was a strategy. That was before. Before what? Before I realized you'd react like this. There it was. He wasn't sorry for the test. He was sorry for losing the outcome. You thought I'd feel relieved, I said quietly. Grateful that I passed. He didn't deny it. You thought I'd hug you and thank you for trusting me. His silence confirmed it. I lost respect, I continued evenly. Not because you were afraid, but because you hid behind your mother instead of speaking to me. He flinched at that. Don't make this about her. It has always been about her. He shook his head. You're trying to wedge yourself between us. No, I said. I'm asking you to stand on your own. He went quiet again. Then, softer. I panicked. That was the first honest sentence he'd spoken. I know, I replied. I didn't want to be blindsided someday. And now? He swallowed. I might be. The admission hung between us. For the first time, his fear wasn't theoretical. It was real. You gambled, I said. You put our marriage on the table to satisfy doubt. I didn't think you'd find out. I let that sit, because that was the truth underneath everything. He wasn't prepared for accountability. He was prepared for applause. You asked if I would leave, I said quietly. You're finally asking the right question. His voice dropped. Are you? I didn't answer immediately, because I wasn't acting out of emotion. I was evaluating. Trust isn't rebuilt with apologies. It's rebuilt with change, and I hadn't seen any yet. I don't know, I said honestly, and that uncertainty unsettled him more than anger ever could, because for the first time, he wasn't measuring my loyalty. He was facing his own. He didn't go to work the next day. Neither did I. We stayed in the same house, moving around each other carefully, like strangers sharing space after a storm. By noon, he couldn't take the silence. What do you want? He asked finally. Honesty. I said I was sorry. That's not honesty. That's damage control. His jaw flexed. You're enjoying this. I met his eyes evenly. No, I'm evaluating whether I'm safe with you. That stopped him. Safe? He repeated. Yes. I have never hurt you. You staged a crisis, I said calmly. You manufactured fear. You withheld security. That's not harmless. He looked genuinely confused. I didn't think it would affect you like that. You didn't think about how it would affect me at all. Silence. Then I asked the question that had been forming since his sister told me the truth. When did your mother suggest it? He hesitated. 4 months ago. So this was premeditated. It wasn't like that. You discussed it. Yes. You agreed to it. Yes. You rehearsed it. He didn't answer, which meant yes. Did she watch? I asked. What? Did she ask for updates? Did she track how I responded? He looked away. She asked how you were handling it. How I was handling it, I repeated, like a lab result, like data. I felt something shift deeper than anger now. Disgust, not explosive, controlled. You let your mother evaluate me like a candidate. She was protecting her son. No, I corrected. She was testing control. He shook his head. You're twisting everything. Am I? I asked calmly. Then answer this. I stepped closer. If I had broken under the pressure, if I'd cried and said I couldn't handle it, what would you have done? He opened his mouth, closed it. Finally. I don't know. That's the problem. He didn't know. He had risked everything without calculating the outcome. You were willing to lose me, I said evenly, as long as you felt certain. I didn't think you'd leave. Why? Because you love me. I held his gaze. Love isn't a guarantee against self-respect. That hit him harder than anything else had. He stepped back, slowly. You're not the same, he said. No, I agreed. I'm not. Because once you see that someone is capable of orchestrating pain to measure you, you stop offering yourself freely. You embarrassed me, he said quietly. How? By acting like I'm some kind of monster. I didn't make you lie. His voice dropped. I just wanted certainty. And now you have uncertainty, I replied. That was the crack, not in me, in him. For the first time he looked small, not powerful, not strategic, just a man realizing he had destabilized the very thing he was trying to secure. I'll cut her off, he said suddenly. Who? My mom. I'll tell her to stay out of our marriage. I studied him carefully. Because you believe that's right? I asked. Or because you're afraid I'll leave? He didn't answer. And that told me everything. Change motivated by fear is temporary. Change motivated by conviction is permanent. I needed to know which one this was, because the foundation of our marriage had cracked, and I would not rebuild it on manipulation. Not again. That night, he called her. Not in secret. Not behind a closed door. Right in front of me. His hand shook slightly as he put the phone on speaker. Mom, he said. We need to talk. Her voice came through light and confident. How's my strong son? He glanced at me. Not great. A pause. What happened? She knows. Silence. Then, sharp and controlled. Knows what? The bankruptcy. The test. Another pause. Longer this time. Well, she said carefully. Then she should be proud she passed. I didn't speak. I watched him. Mom, he said slowly. It wasn't right. Oh, don't start with that, she replied. If she's that fragile, you needed to know. Fragile. I folded my arms. It wasn't about fragility, he said. It was about trust. Trust? She scoffed. Women leave when money disappears. I've seen it. I didn't, he said quietly. You don't know that. I do now. Her tone sharpened. So what? She's threatening to leave because you tested her loyalty? That tells you everything. That's when I stepped forward. I'm not leaving because he tested me, I said evenly. I'm leaving because he involved you. She inhaled sharply. I knew she'd turn you against me, she snapped. I'm not against you, I replied calmly. I'm against interference. You don't get to control my relationship with my son. And you don't get to orchestrate mine. Silence. Then she switched tactics. Sweetheart, she said to him softly. She's manipulating this. You were protecting yourself. He looked at me. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then he said something that shifted the room. No, he said. I was afraid. The honesty startled even me. She went quiet. I let you convince me that fear justified deception, he continued. It didn't. Her voice hardened. So you're choosing her. He swallowed. I'm choosing accountability. There it was, the first real fracture between them. You'll regret this, she said coldly. Maybe, he replied, but I already regret the test. She hung up without another word. The room felt heavier. He set the phone down slowly. I should have shut it down when she first suggested it, he admitted. Yes, I said. I didn't. No. He looked at me, not defensive, not calculating, exposed. I need to know if this is salvageable, he said quietly. That was the first time he'd framed it correctly. Not as control, not as winning, as repair. It depends, I replied. On what? Whether this is about saving face or changing behavior. He nodded slowly. I'll go to therapy, he said. Individually, with you. Whatever it takes. Not to keep me, I said firmly. To understand why you needed to test me. He held my gaze. I don't want to be that man. That mattered. Not because it fixed anything, but because, for the first time, he wasn't arguing about whether he was wrong. He was acknowledging who he had become. And now the question wasn't whether I loved him. It was whether I believed he could become someone different. And I would not answer that quickly. Not after being observed like a hypothesis. Trust, once fractured deliberately, is not rebuilt by urgency. It is rebuilt by proof. And this time, he would be the one under observation. Therapy started the following week. He scheduled it. He paid for it. He didn't tell his mother. That mattered. The first session was quiet, controlled, clinical. He tried to frame it as a misunderstanding. I let the therapist correct that gently. Why did you need proof? She asked him. He hesitated. I've seen marriages fall apart over money. So you simulated collapse? Yes. And how did that align with the trust you claim to value? He didn't answer immediately, because there wasn't a clean answer. Over the next few weeks, something uncomfortable happened. He stopped defending the test. He started examining it. His father had lost everything in a divorce. His mother had repeated that story his entire life, not as grief, but as warning. Women leave when the money dries up. It had become doctrine. And what evidence did you have that your wife would do that? The therapist asked one afternoon. He looked at me. None. That was the first time he said it plainly. None. At home, the dynamic shifted. He stopped asking how much I earned. He stopped reviewing accounts. He transferred the savings back into our joint account without being prompted. I don't want to manage you, he said quietly. I want to trust you. Trust. The word sounded different now. One evening, he sat across from me at the same kitchen table. I replay it, he admitted. The way you worked, the way you were exhausted. I thought I was being strategic. I was being cruel. That was the first time he used the word. Cruel. I didn't soften. You were. He nodded. I don't know how to undo that. You don't, I replied. You replace it. With what? Transparency. Boundaries. Independence. He agreed. He opened separate emergency accounts for both of us. He put financial access fully in my name as well. He told his mother, clearly, that our marriage would not include her oversight again. She didn't take it well. That wasn't my problem. Months passed. He didn't revert. He didn't justify. He didn't blame. He listened. And slowly, not dramatically, not romantically, something stabilized. Not because I forgave quickly, but because he stopped trying to rush forgiveness. One night, after a long therapy session, he said something that settled the last piece. I was afraid you'd leave if I failed, he said. So I tested you instead of trusting you. And now? I asked. Now I know I'd lose you faster by trying to control you. That was the shift. Not fear of abandonment, understanding of consequence. I didn't decide in a single moment to stay. It wasn't cinematic. It was cumulative. Trust rebuilt by consistent behavior, respect rebuilt by accountability. 1 year later, we renewed our vows privately, not because everything was perfect, but because it was honest. He didn't test me again, and I never allowed myself to be evaluated like that again. His mother still calls. She no longer interferes, because the boundary isn't negotiable. Here's what he learned, and what I never had to say again. If you create hardship to measure loyalty, you risk losing the very thing you're trying to secure. He gambled our marriage. He nearly lost it, and the only reason we survived is because he finally understood that love is not proven through suffering. It's proven through trust. A year later, people assume the story ended with forgiveness. It didn't. It ended with awareness. There's a difference. We rebuilt our marriage slowly, brick by brick, but I never erased what happened. I didn't pretend it was romantic. I didn't call it a rough patch. I called it what it was. A breach. He worked for a year to prove something different. Not that I was loyal, that he was trustworthy. That distinction changed everything. I no longer volunteer sacrifice to prove devotion. I no longer shrink to soothe insecurity. I no longer perform strength so someone else feels safe. If there is fear, we speak it. If there is doubt, we address it. If there is interference, it stops immediately. And here is what surprised me most. The power dynamic reversed quietly. Not because I punished him, but because I stopped chasing approval. When someone tests you, they're placing themselves above you, as evaluator, as judge. The moment I refused that role, we became equals again. He no longer checks my loyalty. He checks his behavior. His mother tried once more, months later, to bring it up. Well, at least now we know she'd stay if things got hard, she said over dinner. I looked at her calmly. If things get hard naturally, yes, I replied. If they're manufactured, no. She didn't speak again that evening. He didn't defend her. He squeezed my hand under the table. Not possessively, in solidarity. That's the difference now. He stands beside me, not above me, not behind his mother. Beside. People ask me why I didn't leave immediately. The truth is simple. Leaving is easy when anger is loud. Staying is harder when clarity is quiet. I didn't stay because I passed a test. I stayed because he finally understood he had failed one. And he corrected it. If he hadn't, I would have left without hesitation. Because here is the lesson I carry forward, and the one I will never negotiate again. Love is not something you measure through deprivation. Loyalty is not something you extract through fear. And trust, once broken intentionally, must be rebuilt intentionally. He risked our entire marriage because of his mother's insecurity. He almost lost it because of his own. We survived because he chose accountability over ego. But if I ever see another test coming, I won't study for it. I'll walk out. That's the part no one orchestrates, and that's the part that keeps this marriage honest.